See, alright, so first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. We say double and say apostle and elders of great Muslim and rule well our teachers, our apostles in the truth, and we say salutations so the Akim, so the push you within our truth and sincerity, day in and day out on the constantly in season of the season, Mr. Shalom. Once again, going into our video here, and it's basically touching upon this news, right? And what it goes into. So you see, social media harms the mental health of adolescents, particularly girls. France health watchdog said Tuesday as the country debates banning children under 15 from accessing the immensely popular platforms. Now, there's I believe Australia was the latest country, right? Or the last country, and I could be wrong with that, but Australia was the last country to actually put a ban on social media platform for children underneath the ages of 16. And with this video that I want to go into, it's how important it is that the scriptures talk about training a child, right? There's a lot of parents, right, especially Jake, right, especially Jake. Now, when you read this article, it says particularly girls, right? Social media harms the mental health of adolescents, particularly girls. Because when you watch the state of how these women operate online on social media, these young girls are actually watching them. For example, it had these shows, the Love and Hip Hops, the Bodies, and so forth and so on. And these young girls, right, is watching these shows and following it, being easily influenced by these other women that be on the social media. And it goes the both ways, because they also see the young men, they themselves, the drugs, the guns, the gang warfare, what they pick it up from some social media, right? Well, it's one of the easiest forms to pick it up from, right? Because it's easily accessible, right? And when I was reading this, what come to my mind is the scripture that train up a child, right? No matter of fact, let me bring it. Let me get that. Right, let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now when you look at the meaning of the word train, right? Let me go to Google, quick. Train, right? Train meaning. It says, so when you look at the meaning of the word train, it says to teach a person or animal a particular skill or type of behavior through practice and instruction over a period of time. So when you're reading the scripture, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. We train up the child in instructions, and the way that you want to train up your child is in the way of the Lord, in the way of who? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. But we know, hey, these jakes outside here, they wouldn't know, because they don't even live in the right way. So how could they train the child the proper way? Right, so that's how you see plenty of these kids. I can't even remember the stats that they had about children being how off they is right now. Then, and to put it into simpler terms, how off they is, and it's a high statistic, right? So it goes to show the state, or how the state children are right now, especially in the Jake household, especially in the Israelite household, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives, right? So it's a train, teach a person or animal a particular skill or type of behavior to practice and instruction over a period of time. Now with the social media, like when you watch majority of the kids, and this is the spirit, because I just came off the phone, right, having a conversation with someone about someone we know about the parenting this, this along those lines. And I remember this particular this article, and it said, through the spirit I'll do that video on it, because the topic came back up again, training a child in the proper way, right? And what I was saying is that majority of these parents outside there, what they do is hand the children a tablet, a phone, just like in the picture here. Who you seeing? And what you picture they use? What you picture they use? This is looking like a Jake child, right? Right? And what you, again, right? So what these parents do, and we see plenty in the Israelite household, where the mother, right, and the father would just give the child a tablet, a phone, a game, and just leave them alone. So this child would be on the internet browsing, seeing certain things and learning certain things, and being instructed to go this particular way, which is usually the wrong way, right? But when they turn to the scripture says you to train up a child, not the internet, not social media. And that is why you see in majority of these kids, they have one particular one wave. When you hear these kids talk, all of them talking the same, is like a hive mind, right? And they're talking like foolish, they're very idiotic, right? And all right, that was one of the stats, if I could recall. They were saying that children today are more stupid than in a short term. They're more stupid, right, than children in the past years. And a big problem with that is the social media, right? But a bigger problem is that they're just not being trained up in the proper way, right? They're having these young girls, when they watch some of these pictures, that these women have the daughters, and the kind of clothes, the dress way, the way how they make them talk. These men rather have their son in gang warfare and guns and these things, right? So is overall, Jake just gone, right? Jake just gone, and they're gone in every aspect of it. The mentality, the way they think, the way they operate. The household, right? So let's go now to the book of Sirach. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 1. It says, "He that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end." And that's something else. You see how the enemy, what Esau do? Esau ban they say you can't do corporal punishment. They took it away. So now the kids, they rule in the house. If you try to correct a child, your child can make one phone call, you could be in jail. You could be thrown in prison, right? You take away the phone, right? They start to cry. They will hit you with what? There was a situation that happened maybe some years ago where a mother took away her son's phone, and I think he went on to kill her, right? Right? And we know, and again, we just continue to say that in this, a man must be present in the household, right? But we know all these women think they do what a man are wrong, they do what the man are, you know how it is be, especially with the Israelite woman, right? So you see, he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, and that he may have joy of him in the end. He that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. So he that teaches his son grieveth the enemy, and that's something Esau don't want us to do, right? To teach our children, right? Because they understand that if you teach your children, they will go in the proper way. So what they do, they flood the things with the social media, they stop the corporal punishment. You can't talk to your child a certain way, and many other things that they do, right? So now they control their child. They have the say. They have it. They have your children the way that they want them to be, disobedient, right? Talk very, they talk back, arrogant, many things, right? So you see, he that teaches his son grieveth the enemy, and that's a very important thing. The way how you teach, the way you instruct a child, the way how you grow your child to be, right? It will grieve the enemy, right? Because that is something that the enemy don't want you to do, to teach your child the proper thing, especially for us in this truth, right? You feel the enemy want to hear that you teaching your son the truth, the scriptures, right? Nah, they would say, nah, there is something wrong. You're not supposed to do that, and they might want to take a child from you, right? But it's a very, very important thing to teach your child. Right? They say, he that teaches his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Right? And before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Because why? You're teaching a child what the proper thing. There's a lot of parents these days can't even be in the midst of the friends and talk about the kids. Because why? The kids is whores, is killers. Right? 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 So continuing. It say, while he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him. And when he died, he was not sorrowful. Yeah, while he lived, because the child was growing the right way, growing the proper way. Like when you watch some of these kids that, misbehaving and so forth, and you watch how they are being trained, you watch how they are being instructed, you can see they're not even being trained the proper way. You know, hey, you go in a Israelite household, right? The mother on the phone, the children on the phone, the child do something, the mother can't even correct the child. This is what going on, right? Everything upside down. It say when he lived he saw and rejoiced in him, and when he died he was not sorrowful. It say he left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. Yeah, that's why you leave one just like unto yourself, right? You say he that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. Yeah, right? Yeah, and you have to teach a child with a stern way. You grow up a child too soft, you think everything is a game, right? It's a very important thing. You see, it's all these things here when you read social media harms in mental health. So it goes to show if you're not really training a child in a proper way, it has so much of distraction, so much of things. Your child is going to be led astray. So it's a very important thing to train a child in a proper way, right? It say, he that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. And horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful. Cocker thy child, and he will make thee afraid. Play with him, and he will bring thee to heaviness. Yeah, play with him, he bring you to heaviness, because he will believe that he control you. As I said before, it's just upside down. It's like he might think he's the parent and use the child. You see that in many cases. Like it's that video circulating where this woman was trying to correct her child, and he was shouting at her, and she had us to hush her mouth. You understand? You don't want that to happen, right? You don't want that child to bring you heaviness. And a lot of parents does have that shame, that heaviness, because of the way a child grew up is somehow or the other kind of represents you, right? It say, laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end. It say, give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his folly. Yeah, and wink not at his folly, right? And again, we in that time where it has so much of things, just especially the internet, the social media. It's easy for them to consume certain things that could lead them astray, right? There's a lot of these young women, because look at it. It's a particularly girls. A lot of these young women that when you watch the autopaid fair, the whole look, the way they operate, right? The way they function is based upon what they seen upon the internet, and is what they seen on the internet is to be like hoes, right? That is why it's so hard right now for a man to even get a good woman, because they're so gone. But what causes that is why social media. And I'm speaking on that term. So imagine if that's going on for adults, imagine for these young kids, what is social media doing to the brain. And that is why it's such an important thing to train a child in a proper way, right? It say, give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies. It say, bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he is a child. Lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart. And I know it's not to abuse, but to correct him, right? And to correct him is the same way the Lord deal with us. When we do something wrong, the Lord chastise us, right? And that is our way of being corrected. So you would know not to do that again, right? It say lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart. It say, chastise thy son and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee. Better is the Right, so I'll stop right there. Say, chastise thy son and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee. Right? So it goes to show again, grow up your child in the proper way, right? In the correct way, right? Do have them continually be on the social media. You see how it, and again, with so much information coming out about the harm that social media causes on these kids, right? Especially in the truth. If a child, train a child, now we understand that not everybody going to come to the truth. Not everybody going to be, not some of your kids, they're not going to accept the truth. We understand that, right? But train a child in the proper way. So with that, once again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakadash. We say double on the apostle, elders, a great Muslim, and ruler, our teachers, our apostles in the truth. And we say salutations to the Akim, we say the push with truth and sincerity, day in and day out, and constantly in season on the season, we say Shalom.